The stars stretched endlessly before the UES Resolute as it approached the massive station floating in the void. Captain Daywan stood on the bridge, watching the structure grow larger on the view screen. It was unlike anything humanity had ever built. The station seemed to be made of living metal, constantly shifting and pulsing with strange lights. Rings of energy rotated around its core, and ships from a dozen different worlds docked at its countless ports. "It's beautiful," Ambassador Hannah said quietly, standing beside him. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple tie, and she wore the formal blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. "It's a cage," Daywan replied. He had been a military man for 20 years, and his instincts told him something was wrong. The invitation from the Galactic Council had seemed friendly enough, but there was an edge to it, a command disguised as a request. Chief Engineer Taman looked up from his console. He was young, barely 30, but brilliant with technology. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange readings from their ships. Their weapons are active. All of them." Military Advisor Ji Woo asked. She was tall and moved with the grace of a fighter. Her hand rested unconsciously near her sidearm. "Every single vessel in range," Taman confirmed. "It could be standard protocol, but ... But it feels like a threat," Daywan finished. He took a deep breath. "We're here now. We have to see this through. Humanity needs to know what we're dealing with out here." The Resolute docked without incident, and the human delegation prepared to meet the Galactic Council. They walked through corridors that seemed impossibly vast, passing aliens of every shape and size. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 6 or 8. Some floated. Some seemed to be made of pure energy contained in transparent suits. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. "They're looking at us like we're animals in a zoo," Giwu muttered. "Smile and wave," Hannah said calmly, though her jaw was tight. "We represent all of Earth here." The council chamber was enormous. 12 massive thrones surrounded a central platform, each one holding a different species. The humans were led to the platform and told to wait. Daywan felt like a prisoner in a courtroom. One of the council members spoke. It was a creature that looked like a mountain of crystal, refracting light in rainbow patterns. Its voice boomed through the chamber without any visible mouth. "Humans, you have been discovered. You have achieved primitive, faster-than-light travel. This brings you under the jurisdiction of the Galactic Council." Hannah stepped forward. "We're honored to meet you. Earth hopes to establish friendly relations with all species in the galaxy." This one was covered in thick fur and had 3 heads. All 3 spoke at once in perfect harmony. "Friendly relations? How charming. How naive." The crystalline being continued, as if Hannah hadn't spoken. "The Council maintains order in this galaxy. We have done so for 3,000 of your years. All species must contribute to this order. You will now hear the terms of your integration." Daywan felt his stomach drop. Integration, not alliance, not partnership. The terms were read by a floating sphere covered in eyes. Each term was worse than the last. Humanity would surrender all military vessels. Earth's government would answer to Council overseers. 40% of all resources would be sent to Council worlds as taxation. 60% of Earth's population would be relocated to colony worlds chosen by the Council. "This is insane," Giwu whispered. "They want us to become slaves." Hannah's face was pale but calm. She waited until the sphere finished speaking, and if we refuse these terms... The chamber fell silent. Then several of the council members began making sounds that might have been laughter. "Refuse?" The crystal being said, "No species refuses the Council. You are one world. We are 12,000 worlds. You have a handful of ships. We have millions. Your choice is simple. Accept integration peacefully or be integrated by force." "How long do we have to consider this?" Hannah asked. 48 of your hours, the sphere said. "This is more generous than we typically allow, but we understand your species is young and ignorant of galactic realities." The humans were dismissed. They walked back to their ship in silence. Once aboard the Resolute, Daywan ordered them to a secure conference room where they couldn't be monitored. They're serious, Taman said, his face white with shock. I've been analyzing their fleet movements. They have over 800 warships in this sector alone. That's just what I can detect. Giwu slammed her fist on the table. We can't agree to this. They're asking us to end human civilization. We'd just be ... absorbed. Erased. If we fight, we lose, Taman said quietly. The numbers don't lie. Day One looked at Hannah.
What do you think?
She was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. I think we need to send this information to Earth and let our people decide. This isn't a choice we can make alone. Every human being deserves to know what we're facing, agreed Day One said. He turned to Taman. Send everything we have. Every scan, every recording, every piece of data. Use the quantum relay. Earth needs to see this with their own eyes. The message was sent. Then they waited. The hours crawled by like years. On Earth, Day One knew people would be watching the Council's ultimatum. They would be afraid. They would be angry. They would be debating what to do. He wondered what choice they would make. Surrender and live as subjects of an alien empire? Or fight and probably die free? Day One walked to the observation deck and looked out at the alien station. Somewhere in that massive structure, 12 species sat on their thrones. Confident that humanity would bend the knee like everyone before them, he thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was only 7 years old. What kind of future would she have under Council rule? Would she even be allowed to stay on Earth, or would she be one of the billions shipped off to some distant world? His communicator buzzed. A message from Earth. He read it quickly, then read it again to make sure he understood. The message from the Resolute hit Earth like a nuclear bomb. Within minutes, every news channel on the planet was broadcasting the Council's ultimatum. People watched in horror as alien beings explained how humanity would be divided, controlled, and taxed into submission. President Biora sat in the Emergency Command Center deep beneath Geneva. Around her, holographic displays showed reactions from every nation on Earth. Protests erupted in major cities. Some people demanded immediate surrender. Others called for war. Most were simply terrified. Madam President, the Assembly is ready, her aide said. Biora stood and straightened her suit. She had been president of the United Earth government for 3 years. She had dealt with economic crises, natural disasters, and political conflicts. But nothing had prepared her for this. The United Earth Assembly contained representatives from every nation. They appeared before her as holograms, hundreds of faces from every continent. All of them looked to her for leadership. You've all seen the message, Biora began. The Galactic Council has given us 48 hours to surrender our freedom or face military destruction. I've called this emergency session so we can decide together how humanity will respond. Defense Minister Jae-sung spoke first. He was an older man with gray hair and scars from the border wars. We cannot surrender. If we accept these terms, we cease to exist as a free species. Our children will be scattered across alien worlds. Our government will answer to extraterrestrial masters. Our military will be dismantled. This is not integration. This is conquest dressed in diplomatic language. But what choice do we have? Asked Representative Kumar from the Indian Federation. They have thousands of worlds, millions of ships. If we fight, they'll exterminate us. Maybe extinction is better than slavery, Jae-sung shot back. The chamber erupted in argument. Biora let them debate for several minutes before calling for order. We need facts, not emotion, she said. I've asked Chief Engineer Subin to brief us on the Council's actual military capabilities. Subin, a young woman, appeared on the main screen. She looked exhausted, having spent the last 6 hours analyzing every piece of data from the Resolute. Thank you, Madam President. I've reviewed the scans our delegation made of Council technology. The results are surprising. She brought up technical schematics. Their ships are advanced, yes, but not as advanced as we feared. Their weapons are powerful, but inefficient. Their shields are strong, but drain massive amounts of energy. Their faster-than-light drives are actually slower than ours. The Council's advantage isn't superior technology. It's numbers and logistics. What does that mean for us? Biora asked. It means they're used to overwhelming resistance through sheer force, Subin explained. They've never needed to innovate because no one has fought back effectively. But their tactics are predictable. Their command structure is rigid. If we could find ways to counter their numbers, Intelligence Director Yuna interrupted. I have additional information. We've intercepted Council communications. They're not taking us seriously. Their military hasn't faced real combat in over 200 years. Most of their wars have been police actions against primitive worlds that couldn't fight back. She displayed translated alien messages. Look at this. Their fleet commanders are discussing how quickly they can occupy Earth. They're arguing about which species gets to govern which continents. They think this is already over. They're complacent, Jason said, leaning forward. Overconfident. Dangerously so, Yuna agreed. But there's more. I've been analyzing the Council's history. In 3,000 years, not a single species has refused their terms. Every civilization either surrendered immediately or was crushed within weeks. The Council's entire system is built on that pattern. Biora felt something stir in her chest. Not hope exactly, but possibility. What happens if we break the pattern? We don't know, Yuna admitted. No one has ever tried. The debate raged for hours. Representatives argued every angle. Some pointed out Earth's military was untested against alien technology. Others noted that surrender guaranteed survival, even if it meant losing freedom. A few suggested negotiating for better terms. But slowly, a consensus began to form. It wasn't based on military analysis or strategic planning. It was something deeper. Representative Okonkwo from the African Union stood. My ancestors were enslaved. They fought for generations to be free. I will not dishonor their memory by choosing chains over courage. Representative Zhang from East Asia spoke next. We've built something beautiful here, a united Earth. Free nations working together. I won't surrender that to aliens who see us as primitive children. One by one, representatives voiced their opinions. The pattern was clear. Humanity would not kneel. Biora called for a vote. The question was simple. Accept the Council's terms or refuse? The results appeared on her screen. Of 300 representatives, 294 voted to refuse. Only 6 voted to surrender. The chamber was silent. They all understood what this meant. They had chosen war against an enemy that outnumbered them by thousands to one. Very well, Biora said quietly. Defense Minister Jae Sung, you will coordinate with Admiral Hyanwoo. You have 48 hours to prepare Earth's defenses and offensive capabilities. Use every resource we have, Madam President, Jae Sung said. If we're going to fight, we can't just defend. We need to hit them hard and fast. Make them regret underestimating us, agreed Biora said. Intelligence Director Yuna. I want every piece of information you can find on Council weaknesses. Chief Engineer Suben, develop weapons and tactics they won't expect. We're going to teach the galaxy something it's forgotten.
What's that?
Subin asked. That humans don't surrender. Admiral Hyanwoo appeared on the main screen. He was aboard the UES Indomitable, Earth's flagship. Madam President, my fleet is ready. Give the word, and we'll show these aliens what humanity can do. Biora looked at the faces around her. Fear. Yes. But also determination. Pride. Defiance. Send a message to Captain Day One, she said. Tell him to inform the Council that humanity refuses their terms. We will not negotiate. We will not surrender. If they want Earth, they'll have to take it from us. She paused, then added, and tell him we're ready for war. The message was sent through the quantum relay. On the station orbiting Axiom Prime. Day One received it and smiled. Humanity had chosen to stand. The 48 hours passed in a blur of activity. Captain Day One barely slept, spending every moment reviewing Earth's response and preparing for what would come next. Ambassador Hannah practiced her speech in the mirror, knowing that the next few minutes would determine the course of human history. When the time came, they returned to the council chamber. The same 12 thrones held the same alien rulers. They looked relaxed, almost bored. Clearly, they expected humanity to accept the terms with minor modifications. The crystalline being spoke first. Humans, you have had time to consider. We are prepared to be generous. The taxation rate can be reduced to 35%. You may keep 10% of your military vessels for local defense. These are significant concessions. Ambassador Hannah walked to the center platform. Her footsteps echoed in the vast chamber. She looked small and fragile, surrounded by beings that could crush her without effort. But her voice was steady and clear. "We have considered your terms carefully," she said. "Earth's government has voted. The people of Earth have spoken. Our answer is no." The chamber went silent. Several of the council members leaned forward as if they hadn't heard correctly. "No," the three-headed creature asked. All three mouths spoke the word at once, creating an eerie echo. "No," Hannah repeated. "We refuse your terms. All of them. We will not surrender our military. We will not accept council overseers. We will not pay tribute. We will not relocate our people. We reject your authority over humanity completely." The floating sphere covered in eyes began spinning rapidly. "This is unacceptable. You do not understand the situation. We are offering you a place in galactic civilization. Refusing means isolation, conflict, destruction." "We understand perfectly," Hannah said. Her voice grew stronger. "You're offering us slavery dressed up as protection. You want us to give up everything that makes us human. Our freedom, our dignity, our right to determine our own future. We refuse." The crystal being's voice boomed through the chamber. "You are one world against 12,000. You have primitive ships against our vast fleets. This is not courage. This is suicide born of ignorance." Perhaps, Hannah acknowledged. "But it's our choice to make. You don't own us. You don't rule us. If you want Earth, you'll have to take it by force." Captain Daywan stepped forward to stand beside Hannah. "The human race doesn't kneel to anyone. Not to tyrants on Earth, not to tyrants in space. If you come for us, we'll fight. And we'll make you pay for every meter of ground." One of the council members, a being made of swirling gas contained in a field, spoke for the first time. Its voice was like wind through empty spaces. "In 3,000 years, no species has refused us. None have been foolish enough to choose extinction over integration." "Then you've been bullying children," Daywan said coldly. "Let's see how you do against someone who fights back." The council erupted in chaos. Some members shouted in alien languages. Others made sounds of disbelief. The crystalline being raised one massive appendage and silence fell. "This is your final opportunity," it said. "Accept integration now or face the consequences. We are giving you this chance because we prefer peaceful resolution. But make no mistake, human. If you leave this chamber without accepting our authority, the council will respond with force. Your world will burn. Your species will be scattered to the corners of the galaxy. You will be made an example of for all others who might consider defiance." Hannah looked up at the alien without flinching. "We understand the stakes. Our answer remains no." "Then you have chosen death," the sphere said. Its many eyes all focused on the humans at once. "Maybe," Hannah replied. "But we've chosen it freely. Can you say the same about the species you've conquered?" The three-headed being stood from its throne. "The council will convene to authorize military action. You have 6 of your hours to flee this system. After that, any human vessel will be destroyed on sight." Military advisor GU spoke up. "Just so we're clear, you're declaring war on humanity? We are enforcing council law, the crystal being corrected. You are criminals refusing legitimate authority. Call it whatever helps you sleep," Ji-Woo said with a cold smile. "But when we start destroying your fleets, remember that you chose this." The humans turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind them, the council erupted into discussion. They could hear the aliens debating how many ships to send, how quickly Earth could be occupied, which species would govern the broken human worlds. "They still don't take us seriously," Taman said once they were back aboard the Resolute. "Good," Day One replied. "Let them be confident. Let them think this will be easy. It'll make the surprise that much better. The Resolute undocked and jumped to faster than light speed. They had 6 hours to get clear before the Council fleet arrived, but they didn't flee. Instead, Day 1 set course for the edge of human space, where Admiral Hoyanwu waited with Earth's entire military force. Captain Hannah said quietly, "Did we do the right thing?" Day 1 thought about his daughter, about all the children on Earth who deserve to grow up free. We did the only thing we could do and still call ourselves human. Behind them, the Council was mobilizing. The enforcement fleet began moving toward human space. 847 warships, the largest military force assembled in 200 years. The Council expected token resistance followed by quick surrender. They were about to learn a hard lesson. Humans didn't surrender. They adapted. They improvised. They fought with a desperation that civilized species had forgotten, and they were very, very good at war. The Resolute reached the rendezvous point. Before them stretched the entire human fleet. 300 ships of various sizes. It looked pathetically small compared to what was coming. But Admiral Haiyan-Wu wasn't planning a traditional battle. He had spent 48 hours preparing something the Council had never seen before. Something that would change the rules of galactic warfare forever. Captain Daewon Han-Wu's voice came through the comm. "Welcome back. I trust you delivered our message." "Loud and clear," Admiral Daewon replied. "They're coming. 800 plus ships. They'll be here in about 20 hours. "Perfect," Haiyan-Wu said. "That gives us time to finish preparations." That humans are the scariest thing in the galaxy when you make us fight for our survival. Across human space, military bases went to full alert. Civilians were evacuated to underground shelters. Factories began producing weapons around the clock. Every ship, every soldier, every engineer prepared for the coming storm. Earth's government sent a final message to their people. President Biora appeared on every screen, her face calm and determined. "The Council is coming," she said simply. "They expect us to be afraid. They expect us to break. They expect us to surrender when they show their strength. They're wrong. Humanity has faced extinction before. We've always survived. We've always fought back. This time will be no different. Stand strong. Stand together. And show the galaxy what humans are made of." The message ended. Across Earth and her colonies, billions of humans looked to the stars and waited. The war was about to begin. The Council fleet arrived at the edge of human space, exactly on schedule. 847 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They were magnificent and terrifying, representing 12 different species and 3,000 years of military dominance. Fleet Commander Velroth stood on the bridge of the flagship. He was a tall, insectoid being with compound eyes and 4 arms. He had commanded enforcement actions for 30 years. All of them had ended within days. Species saw the fleet and surrendered immediately. "Scan for human vessels," he ordered. Detecting multiple contacts, his sensor officer reported. 300 ships holding position near the 4th planet. Velroth clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. Only 300? They truly are primitives. Open communications. Offer them one final chance to surrender. Communication was sent. There was a long silence. Then, a human face appeared on the screen. It was an older man with graying hair and eyes like ice. "I am Admiral Hoyanwu of the United Earth Space Force," the human said. "You are entering human territory without permission. Turn back now, or face the consequences." Velroth made a sound that might have been laughter. "Admiral, I command 847 warships. You have 300 primitive vessels. This is not a negotiation. Surrender your fleet immediately." "No," Haiyan-Wu said simply. "Then you will be destroyed," Velroth replied. "I am authorized to use whatever force necessary. This is your last warning." "Come and try," Haiyan-Wu said, and the screen went dark. Velroth ordered the fleet to advance. This would be over in minutes. The human ships would fire a few shots, realize the futility of resistance, and surrender. It always went this way. The The Council fleet moved forward in textbook formation. Velroth had used this same approach 100 times. It was efficient, overwhelming, and allowed for minimal casualties on both sides. Then the humans did something unexpected. They scattered. What are they doing? Velroth demanded. Why aren't they forming defensive positions? Unknown, Commander, his tactical officer said. They're breaking into small groups, moving in multiple directions at high speed. Pursue and destroy, Velroth ordered. Split our forces to match their movements. It was a mistake. He realized it too late. The human ships weren't fleeing. They were leading the Council fleet into a trap. As the alien vessels spread out to pursue, they entered a region of space that sensors showed as empty. Then Engineer Subin activated her surprise. Thousands of mines, too small for sensors to detect, came to life all at once. But these weren't ordinary mines. They were self-propelled, AI-guided weapons that had been drifting silently for 2 days. The first Council ships started exploding, then more, then dozens at once. The perfect formation dissolved into chaos as vessels tried to evade the swarm of intelligent weapons pursuing them. Defensive fire, Velroth shouted. Destroy those mines. But the mines were too small, too fast, and too many. For every one destroyed, 3 more got through. Within 10 minutes, the Council had lost 47 ships. Then the human vessels attacked. They didn't engage in traditional ship-to-ship combat. Instead, they fired weapons the Council had never seen before. Missiles that split into hundreds of smaller projectiles. Kinetic rounds accelerated to relativistic speeds. Electromagnetic pulses that shorted out shields and electronics. Captain Gahol led a squadron of fast attack ships directly into the heart of the Council formation. Instead of firing weapons, they latched onto enemy vessels like parasites. Boarding teams cut through holes and took control of the alien ships from within. They're boarding us. A Council captain screamed over the communications channel. How are they cutting through our armor so quickly? The answer was simple. Humans had developed cutting tools specifically designed to breach alien hull materials. Every boarding team carried weapons optimized for fighting in zero. Gravity against species with different natives. It was brutal. It was efficient. It was terrifying to enemies who had never faced such tactics in orbit around Mars. Battle Coordinator Minna directed operations from a command station. She watched dozens of screens showing different battles across the entire system. Where Council forces concentrated, she ordered human ships to scatter and reform elsewhere. Where Council ships isolated themselves, she sent overwhelming force to destroy them. She fought like she was playing a game of chess. The pieces moved at the speed of light. The Council fought like they were following a textbook that hadn't been updated in centuries. Pilot Sang Woo became a legend in the first hour of combat. He flew a fighter so small it barely registered on sensors, but armed with weapons that could cripple ships 1,000 times its size. He dove through Council formations at impossible angles, destroying targeting systems and engine cores with surgical precision. Council pilots tried to intercept him. None succeeded. Sang-woo flew with an instinct that seemed almost supernatural, pulling maneuvers that should have torn his ship apart. The aliens had never faced a pilot who treated physics as a suggestion rather than a law. By the end of the first day, the Council fleet was in retreat. They had lost over 200 ships. The humans had lost 30-5 VEL. Roth couldn't believe it. His species had conquered dozens of worlds. He had personally commanded successful enforcement actions against 6 different civilizations. But these humans fought like nothing he had ever encountered. They didn't follow the rules of warfare. They used tactics that seemed insane. They took risks that should have gotten them killed. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. Request reinforcements, Velroth ordered. Tell the Council this is not a primitive species. These humans are dangerous. The message was sent. The Council responded by sending 3 more fleets. 2,000 additional warships began moving toward human space. Admiral Hyan Woo received the intelligence and smiled grimly. They think numbers will solve their problem. They still don't understand what they're fighting. He gathered his commanders. We've proven we can hurt them. Now, We prove we can defeat them. Captain Day 1, take your task force and hit their supply lines. Engineer Subin, I need more surprises. Coordinator Mina, identify their command vessels and plan strikes against them. The war continued. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The Council kept sending reinforcements, but humans adapted faster than the aliens could respond. Every battle taught the humans something new about Council tactics. Ships and weaknesses. Captain Jiho perfected the art of ship capture. His boarding teams took over dozens of Council vessels and turned them against their former masters. The sight of Council ships fighting under human control was devastating to alien morale. Engineer Subin invented new weapons every week. Virus programs that corrupted alien computer systems, nanobots that ate through hull plating, energy weapons tuned to frequencies that overloaded Council shields. Pilot Sang-woo trained other pilots in his methods. Soon, there were hundreds of human fighters flying with his style. Fast, unpredictable, deadly. The Council had never faced an enemy like this. They were used to overwhelming primitives with superior technology and numbers. But the humans weren't primitives. They were innovators who saw every problem as a challenge to overcome. More importantly, they fought with a ferocity born of desperation. Every human knew what was at stake. Freedom or slavery. Life or death. There was no middle ground. So they fought with everything they had. 6 months into the war, something unexpected happened. A species called the Nari, who had been conquered by the Council 200 years ago, rose up in rebellion. They had watched humans fighting and been inspired. If these newcomers could resist, why couldn't they? Then another species rebelled. Then a third. The Council suddenly faced uprisings across their territory while still fighting the humans. Who refused to die, Admiral Hyenwoo seized the opportunity. He sent weapons and tactical advice to the rebel species. He coordinated their attacks with human operations. The war spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The Council, for the first time in 3,000 years, was losing 18 months after the war began. The Council chamber at Axiom Prime was very different. The 12 thrones still stood, but the beings sitting on them looked tired, worried. Some had been replaced. After their fleets were destroyed by human attacks, the crystalline, being that had first delivered the ultimatum, to humanity spoke quietly. We have lost over 300 warships. In the last week alone, the humans have captured 200 more. 17 subjugated species are in open rebellion. Our enforcement capabilities are at 30% of normal strength. This is impossible, the three-headed creature said. All three mouths were no longer in harmony. They spoke over each other in distress. One primitive world. How did one primitive world bring the Council to its knees? They are not primitive, the floating sphere said bitterly. We were arrogant. We assumed technology and numbers were everything. The humans taught us that will and innovation matter more. What do? The gaseous being asked. If we continue fighting, we risk total collapse. The rebellions are spreading faster than we can contain them. We do what we should have done 18 months ago, the crystal being said heavily. We negotiate. We offer peace. The suggestion was met with shocked silence. The Council had never negotiated as equals with anyone. They had always dictated terms from a position of absolute power. They will demand our surrender, one council member protested. Perhaps the crystal being replied, but better surrender than extinction. Send the message. Tell the humans we request a ceasefire. The message was sent through every channel. Within hours, a response came back from Admiral Hyenwoo. It was brief. The Galactic Council may send representatives to discuss terms. They will come unarmed to coordinates we provide. Any treachery will be met with immediate destruction of your core worlds. It was not a negotiation. It was a command. The Council had become what humanity once was, summoned to hear terms of integration. The Council chose 3 representatives. They traveled to human space in a small diplomatic vessel, escorted by human warships. They were brought to a space station orbiting Earth, through the viewports. They could see the blue and green planet that had brought their empire to the edge of collapse. Captain Day One and Ambassador Hannah met them in a conference room. The aliens looked diminished somehow, without their thrones and their vast fleets to back up their words. "We have come to discuss peace," the crystal being said. "The Council acknowledges that the conflict has been costly for both sides. We propose a ceasefire and the establishment of normalized relations between our peoples." Hannah sat across from them, her expression neutral. "You mean you've realized you can't conquer us, so now you want to pretend this was all a misunderstanding?" "The initial terms were harsh," the sphere admitted. "Perhaps too harsh. We are willing to revise them significantly. Humanity can remain independent. No taxation. No population transfer. You would simply recognize Council authority in matters of galactic law." "No," Hannah said. The aliens looked confused. "No, but these are generous terms. We are offering you everything you fought for. You're offering us what should have been ours from the beginning," Day One said coldly. "Freedom, sovereignty, basic dignity. But that's not enough anymore. You've shown us what the Council really is. A protection racket on a galactic scale. You bully the weak and exploit the vulnerable. That system needs to end. What are you proposing?" The crystal being asked cautiously, Hannah slid a datapad across the table. "These are humanity's terms for peace. The Council will be restructured as an alliance of equal partners. All member species will have equal votes. No more tribute. No more forced relocations. Any species that wishes to leave the Council may do so without consequences. Furthermore," Day One continued, "all species currently in rebellion will be granted immediate independence. The Council will pay reparations to worlds damaged by enforcement actions. And Council military forces will be reduced to defensive levels only." The aliens stared at the terms in shock. "This is the dissolution of the Council," the sphere said. "No," Hannah replied. "It's the reformation of the Council. You can still have your alliance, your cooperation, your shared laws. But it will be based on consent, not coercion. Join willingly, or don't join at all. The other species will never accept this," the crystal being said. "You are asking them to give up power they have held for 3,000 years. Then they can continue fighting," Day One said. "We'll destroy every fleet you send. We'll arm every rebellion. We'll turn your empire into ash. Or you can accept that the age of conquest is over and build something better." The three alien representatives requested time to consult with the Council. They returned to Axiom Prime and presented humanity's terms. The debate lasted for days. Many Council members were outraged. Some called for a final, massive military campaign to crush humanity once and for all. Then intelligence. Director Yuna released something that changed everything. She published intercepted Council communications, showing how the various species had exploited subjugated worlds for centuries. Details of atrocities. Evidence of corruption. Proof that the Council had been lying to their own people about the true nature of their empire. The revelation sparked outrage across Council space. Member species began questioning their leaders. Some demanded accountability. Others started peace movements calling for reconciliation with humanity in the rebel worlds. The Council had a choice. Accept humanity's terms, or watch their entire civilization tear itself apart. They chose survival. 3 months later, Captain Day One and Ambassador Hannah returned to Axiom Prime, but this time, they walked into the Council chamber as equals. A 13th throne had been added for humanity. The restructuring agreement was signed. The Council would continue as an alliance, but now all members had equal votes and equal voices. Species could join or leave freely. The tribute system was abolished. Enforcement fleets were reduced to peacekeeping forces. It was not perfect. Many Council species resented humanity for destroying their comfortable system. Some continued to see humans as upstart primitives who had gotten lucky. But the rules had changed forever. President Biora addressed the Reformed Council in her first official speech. "We didn't want this war. We would have preferred to join the galaxy peacefully. But you gave us no choice. You tried to take our freedom, so we took yours." She paused and looked around the chamber. Now we can start over. Not as masters and subjects, but as partners. Humanity offers our technology, our innovation, our perspective. In return, we ask only that you respect our right to exist as free beings. Every species deserves that much. The speech was met with mixed reactions. Some species applauded. Others sat in stony silence. But none could deny the truth of her words. Back on Earth, people celebrated. The war was over. Humanity had survived. More than survived, they had won. But it was a bittersweet victory. The war had cost millions of lives. Entire cities had been destroyed. The scars would take generations to heal. Young recruit Du Hayen stood at the memorial wall in New Seoul, reading the names of those who had died. He had enlisted on his 18th birthday, right at the end of the war. He had never seen combat, but he wore his uniform with pride. His grandfather approached, an old man who had served in the first battles against the Council fleet. "Thinking about joining the Space Force?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Du Hayen replied. "Someone needs to make sure this never happens again." His grandfather nodded approvingly. "The galaxy knows about us now. Some will respect us. Some will hate us. Some will want revenge. We'll need soldiers like you to protect what we've built." "We showed them humans don't surrender," Du Hayen said. "No," his grandfather corrected. "We showed them something more important. We showed them that freedom is worth fighting for. That courage can overcome numbers. That one determined species can change the entire galaxy." He put a hand on Du Hayen's shoulder. "Now you have to show them we can build as well as we can fight." Du Hayen looked up at the stars, visible even through the daylight. Somewhere up there, humanity had earned its place. Not through submission or compromise, but through strength and sacrifice. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. They had learned a hard lesson: when you push humanity to the wall. When you threaten their freedom and their future, they don't break. They fight back, and they win. Earth's sun shone down on a world that had faced annihilation and survived. In cities across the planet, people went about their lives, free to make their own choices and determine their own destiny. It was a simple thing, really. The right to be free. But it was a right humans had been willing to die for. And now, thanks to their courage, species across the galaxy were learning they had that right too. The Age of Empires was over. A new era had begun, and humanity had shown the way.